Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. It's time to talk about all things X-Men, and thankfully, because there weren't a lot of X-Men comics this week, we had some news come out with the Marvel solicitations. We had a couple interviews that had some interesting nuggets in them. And here to talk with me about that is the X-Men historian, the Marvel aficionado himself. Doc, how you doing, buddy?
I am wonderful. I'm a little hungover, but I am wonderful.
You went to the script club?
No, actually, I just went out drinking with one of my buddies last night, and I haven't done that in 8 months, so...
I guess, you know, when you have to wear gas masks and everything, it's a little bit less of an experience, but we got interesting stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about Wolverine and his upcoming reckoning, the introduction of Captain Krakoa. Might as well call it Captain Krakoa.
Call it Crap-Tain. Call it Crap-Tain.
Captain Krakoa. The information we got on X-Men Legends number 10 and the return of Sabretooth. Obviously, we will talk about Trial of Magneto as well. So let's get right to it. We got plenty of stuff to talk about. We've got a reckoning coming from Wolverine. This is what Ben Percy said in a recent interview. Wolverine is deep into it in X-Force, and there is going to come a point soon where a reckoning occurs. From the very beginning, setting out to write Wolverine and X-Force, I wanted Logan in particular to be somebody who was hardly all in on this experiment. And it feels like he's pretty much succeeded in that point. Wolverine has definitely stood out as somebody who has been not buying all the Krakoa hype.
Yeah, you are right. I mean, Wolverine, I know that this has been kind of a common thing that you and I have both mentioned at different times. You know, there's moments where he gets really on board, but he's the one that's felt the most like himself out of all of the X-Men during the whole Krakoan age. And so I'm not surprised to find out that he's not buying in 100%, but at the same time, they've kind of let him buy in on and off. Like, they haven't really kept the characterization. If he was skeptical, they haven't really mentioned it very much. So while I agree with Ben that he is the least affected by Krakoa, the least compromised by it, I guess you could say, he himself, as the primary writer, is a little bit to blame because he has not kept the that characterization really terribly consistent throughout, at least to this point.
So we know that after Inferno, Jonathan Hickman's last hurrah on X-Men, the next big X-Men event is going to be the 10 Lives of Wolverine, the 10 Deaths. I think it's supposed to be, one of them's X, the other one's 10. Who cares? It's the X Lives and Deaths of Wolverine. It's going to be 2 intertwined series, just like House of X Powers of 10. 1 issue a week, totaling 12 issues. And it's going to be, during the run, most of the other X-Men comics are basically going to go on hiatus. There's going to be a couple issues, but for the most part, it's going to be this Wolverine series. And this is what Ben Percy said he set out for this, and he set the bar very high. He said, quote, I set out to write the greatest Wolverine story ever told. He continues on, we're creating a definitive platform that channels all the Wolverine stories that came before while shredding our way into a wild future. No. Sorry, Ben. Look, you're a good writer. You have your moments where I want to, like, beat you with like a Larry Hama Wolverine omnibus. But you are probably one of the better writers in that office. However, you writing the best Wolverine story of all time would be a huge, like, quantum leap in quality compared to the inconsistency you've shown writing him to this point. Now, that being said, I would love if it was true. Absolutely love it, because there's a lot of really good Wolverine. There's a lot of really bad Wolverine stories, but there's a lot of good Wolverine stories. And for him to, but when he's good, like when Wolverine is written well, he's one of the most compelling superhero characters. He's right up there with Spider-Man and Batman and Superman when written correctly. So if that's your goal, goddamn, I really hope you hit it. I hope you make gold. Now, I don't know whether or not necessarily, at least from what we've been told so far about what like kind of the themes of this are, that would necessarily be the best Wolverine story. But life and death of him. That means honestly, you're gonna have to be, if you're doing 10 of them, even if this is a 10-issue miniseries, that means essentially he lives and dies in every single one. It's 10 one-shots. That's going to be hard to make it's hard enough to weave a consistent story in there, but to do it and make it the best ever, I'm holding out hope, dude. Come on. Don't.
Absolutely nothing wrong with shooting for the stars. We'll see if he's able to achieve that. It's a high mountain to scale because there have been so many great creators. This is the most exciting part about what he said, and this is what I want to see. And this is a quote from Ben Percy. Logan ain't drinking the Kool-Aid. He appreciates Krakoa because it's given him a home, a nation, a family, but he's never been a follower. He continues later. He also recognizes that some of what Beast has been up to as the chief intelligence officer of X-Force, the mutant CIA is morally repugnant. If Beast gets his comeuppance at the hands of Wolverine's hot claws, well, I guess there are no hot claws, at the hands of his claws, I will be very happy. I hope he turns him into a Beast shish kebab.
Yeah, or just made a rug for his moon house. I'd be fine with that. Beast kind of earned it. He's been really, really fucking shifty.
Yeah, so if there ends up being a big Wolverine Beast battle at the end of this, and he finally wipes him out, I will say Ben did something good.
Yes, but at the same time, if that ends up being the big like conflict throughout the whole thing, I will be horribly, horribly, horribly disappointed, because Beast does not look, even his shitty behavior in X-Force and across the Krakoan X stories does not make him a compelling villain for this whole thing. You got to give me more than just Beast. Please.
You're gonna get plenty of them, but hey, as long as we get him taking care of Beast, I'll be happy. So we've got a few other things to talk about here as far as information we got out. We know that in X-Men #6, Jerry Duggan is going to be introducing Captain Krakoa. It's going to be coming out in December. This is a new mutant superhero. Pepe Larraz is going to be the artist, and with a mission to protect the world from evil, just like his American counterpart, Captain America. According to Jerry Duggan, the heroes of Krakoa have another gift to their home planet, a selfless hero from the shores of Krakoa who will defend Earth to the last dying breath. You excited?
No. I mean, first of all, the design on this is terrible. This character design is god awful. I mean, not to mention the fact that he has leaves growing out of his ears. I'm calling him Mr. Leafy Ear. But this whole thing about making none of this sounds compelling. This sounds like a throwaway like joke story from the mid 80s, where they, like, the X-Men, get mind wonked into thinking that they're, or like Mojo comes up with something like this and sends it at the X-Men, and they sit there and get confused by it too. None of this really sounds appealing.
Kind of reminds me of when what was the cartoon when you saw Captain Caveman?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
Is this like some weird, like, made for Krakoan TV special, like it
feels
galvanize
like
the people? It just sounds stupid.
It feels like it. It's like a made for TV superhero, like fucking Captain Planet or some shit. Nothing like this is they're just introducing this character. They're doing the typical generic Duggan bullshit of just randomly introduce something that we have no idea how it's going to work, see how it's received, and then maybe write the backstory. And we're going to introduce him as a mysterious character. But the problem is he's a mysterious character that nobody was asking for.
There's been no mention of the character in over 2-3 years of Krakoa.
Yeah, exactly. He comes out of nowhere. He's got a terrible, atrocious costume design. He's bland. I mean, just really, this is like a Build-A-Character from fucking City of Heroes.
What's interesting, I think the big thing about this is there's a mystery. This is a character, likely one that we already know. We're supposed to be guessing who is behind the mantle of Captain Krakoa. This is all that we know from what we've seen so far. He appears to be a beefy male character that it hits the weights, and he has a power of flight. Otherwise, that's all we've really seen on the stupid selfie that makes up the cover.
Yeah, I mean,
selfie. Get selfies out of goddamn comics.
Yeah. Get telephones off of my out of my comic books. No, this look, I understand he's making it a mystery, but he has to introduce this. This would be much more interesting if they don't promote it ahead of time and he just randomly showed up. And then you're like, wait, who the fuck is this guy? Now,
or some dude just was making appearances over the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And at first he was a blur, and then someone took a picture of him, and it was a still photo, and you're like, okay, what is this? And you only saw like half of his head. Then eventually you figure out what he looked like. Like, what is this? And then eventually you introduce the mystery, but there's no time to build things up anymore.
No.
Take a subplot, Doc.
Yes, I know it would. And they're not any good at those things. No, you're right. They should have been building this up and just having it like him pop through, like being in a background or something. And then you now they could flash back, and then you have him just appear. You don't promote it ahead of time because you're promoting a mystery that you haven't made us invested in the mystery of yet. We don't give a shit.
Spray painting Captain Krakoa graffiti on the island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And make him
so it's on their mind.
Like a folk hero that nobody knows about. And then like the real X-Men are like, wait, what the fuck are you people talking about? Like, and then there might be something to it. But for the time being, this is just boring. Jesus, I don't care, Jerry.
Could be amazing, but they have not rolled it out well, in my opinion, just as far as the teases and stuff. Uncompelling and uninteresting at this point. Let's get to something that sounds like it might be more compelling. We enjoyed Fabian Nicieza. He basically opened up X-Men Legends with Brett Booth. And he's coming back for issue number 10 with Dan Jurgens on art. Obviously, Dan Jurgens has been over at DC Comics for quite some time. Obviously, he's no longer exclusive. Coming over, I think he's done a short story in an anthology. Obviously, he's doing the art in X-Men Legends number 10. As far as I know, Dan Jurgens has never illustrated really X-Men in the past. But this is what it's going to be about. It's going to be a 90s X-Men tales. They introduced something called the Eighth Circle. And this is what the solicitation says. Professor X, Beast, Magneto, Moira McTaggart, Amanda Mueller, these leading experts on mutant kind have been assembled by Mr. Sinister to discuss the evolution of Homo Superior. But to what devious end? Rest assured, there'll be at least one dead body before dessert at this medium mutant kind's own Illuminati. Yeah,
I was going to say, this is just the mutant Illuminati. And honestly, I was tired of the Illuminati years ago doing it with, we've already been seeing way too much of this, Xavier casually hanging out with people he was constantly in conflict with and sending his team to work against for, I don't know, the first 50 years of X-Men. I've seen way too much of that during this Krakoan era. I don't need them.
It feels like it would be more at home in Krakoa. It does. X-Men rather than the 90s.
It does. I mean, look, if you're gonna do because the 90s X-Men up until Krakoa, we were under the assumption that this was always one timeline. Now, after Krakoa, I'm sorry, you still can't get me to get to shoehorn this stuff in and just claim, well, since they were all other timelines, it does fit. You can make it fit. I don't like this. Like, this feels way too Krakoan X-Men for me, for something in the 90s. And now, that being said, the concept is played out, but intriguing. I'd like to know what the story is. Now, Dan Jurgens on art, I like Dan Jurgens. I don't know if he necessarily fits with doing an X book, but hey, cool. I'll give it a shot. Now, Fabian Nicieza, if there's anybody that I'm gonna trust to shove this in, it's probably him. He effectively did, a half issue, like X-Men 39.5, when he did the first 2-issue arc, on X-Men Legends in number 1 and 2 with Brett Booth. So I do trust that he's going to be capable of, kind of weaving this in and it actually making sense. But when it comes down to it, this whole mutant Illuminati and Xavier hanging out with, people he was ostensibly in constant conflict with, kind of annoys me. Because remember, in the 90s, that was when they, all that character development of turning Magneto into more of an anti-hero from the 80s that Claremont was doing, that all got wiped out very quickly in the early 90s, in X-Men's 1 through 3. And he was back to being a straight up villain for all of the 90s. So him hanging out with Xavier, especially with Sinister, and Sinister had a lot of conflicts with the X-Men in the 90s too. I don't know if Nicieza is going to have to really sell me on this to get me to get over my initial apprehensions, I guess you could say.
Well, with Hellions going away, X-Men Legends is the best ongoing X-Men series. So, hey, it's an insta buy. You just got to hope that they pull it off. Let's get over.
I did have one other thing to say on this. The only thing that is surprising is that this is issue 10. When the hell are we getting that Claremont story? I could have sworn we were going to get it right after Larry Hama. No, Larry Hama has 3 issues.
Oh, well, it was supposed to be after then.
I know.
Maybe we know that Claremont's working on that Gambit series. That's something that we actually need to talk about on This Week in X-Men. We're not going to do it this week, but we will get to it. But it must be coming up after that. Now let's get to Sabretooth. We know that Sabretooth, Victor Creed, was placed into the eternal purgatory underneath the island of Krakoa as essentially the first, I don't know. He broke a law and he got convicted. So starting on January, starting on January 5th, Sabretooth #1 by writer Victor Lavelle with artist Leonard Kirk and Rain Barreto come out. Obviously, it feels like it's probably tied into the end of Inferno. Victor Lavelle was essentially an unknown quantity to me. I did read his Eve series at Boom Studios, and I quite liked it up until the very end. I thought the ending was absolutely atrocious, where we were in this dystopian future, and this girl essentially becomes Johnny Appleseed. Not exactly the ending I was looking for, but otherwise the series was quite well done. So I am excited for Sabretooth's return. Like I said, he was the first mutant banished for breaking the Krakoan laws. What do you think about a 5-issue series, about Sabretooth return?
I'm down. I mean, look, this is something we've been waiting for a while. Now, the talent involved, I am wildly unimpressed by, and in fact, actively disgusted by to some degree. But I love the idea of first Sabretooth. Now, first of all, the one thing that they haven't made clear yet is this set currently? Because all the other X books are basically stopping except for the Wolverine book for January. So, is this set currently? So has he escaped that prison, or is he?
It's being billed as the return of Sabretooth from Krakoa.
Yeah, but just because, they're building it that way. That doesn't mean they actually set it in the current. It could be set in the past. But
I mean, that's not what they said. They said this is him returning from banishment underneath Krakoa.
Okay, I was looking at it more from the. Yeah, I'm looking at it more from the. He's currently banished, and he hasn't appeared in comics, so he's returning, even though he didn't actually get out. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, but that's not what I'm getting from the press release.
All right. Well, I'm expecting Marvel to fucking swerve on us and, wildly underdeliver, because that's what they always do. However, that being said, I do like the idea of, because I want to find out details of the No Place or that underground, because I'm hoping they explore that. Like, tell us, what was your experience down there, dude? Like, was it some sort of like creepy demolition man hibernation prison where they taught him to, like, where they tried to teach him to knit? Or was it, did he just wake up and it was like no time passed? I want to know what goes on down there. And I want to know how it affects him. And if it's, I just hope they don't use it as an opportunity to make a kinder and gentler Sabretooth out of him.
I'm hoping he kills the entire Quiet Council except for Nightcrawler.
I hope,
since they retroactively convicted him of something that wasn't even a crime when he did it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everybody on Krakoa should be in prison for killing a human.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, hell, Wolverine should. Magneto should. Xavier should. Yeah, everybody. Basically, the entire fucking X-Men have killed a human at some point. But no, I have high hopes for this. I just don't. Looking at the creative team, I'm quite skeptical.
Hey, I just read a comic by Victor Lavelle. It was very good until the very last issue. I quite enjoyed it. It was more than capable.
I've read one thing by him, and I also saw his Twitter feed. And
it's whatever. Some people let that affect their writing. Some people don't.
Well, we'll see.
Well, we shall see. I've only read one of his comics. Like I said, it was good up until the end. We'll see what happens with that one. Now let's get into the trial of Magneto. We had issue number 2. This is Lucas Wernick on art. Leah Williams, the worst writer, in my opinion, in the X-Men office. They're working hard to see who's the worst. This actually felt like a big step back for me. I thought the first issue, while not good, was one of the better things she's ever written. I thought this was much worse. The characterization is all over the place. The dialogue somehow got worse. The art's better. It's more consistent. And the best thing I can say about this comic book is the lettering's pretty on point, Doc.
Yeah. This was the most convoluted plot I've read. The characterization was all over the place. I'm hoping that somebody has managed to wrangle a decent story out of this woman, and there's some big plan to tie this all together near the end, because so far this is a jumbled fucking mess of nonsense. It's a really bad
issue of X Factor disguised as a Magneto event story.
Yeah, it really is. And, the first thing they do is, of course, insult the men whenever the Avengers show up on Krakoa.
Well, the first thing they do is you've got Hope messing with Magneto's mind And she's like, I don't want to do this. And it's like, why would you have anyone, a telepath in here, like messing with his mind when you have like 50 million of them on Krakoa?
Yeah, this was like, well, we started off, with Leia Williams giving us a lecture on the ethics of psychic interrogation.
Torture is what she calls it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was stupid. Why would you bring in Hope if she didn't want to do it? You have so many telepaths. It's not even funny.
Yeah, you got Emma, you got Jean, you got well, if they actually remembered what Rachel Summers' actual powers are, you got Rachel.
But we don't need to name them off. They've got plenty of people to choose from. So exactly. That part was stupid. And I agree with you. The Avengers show up because they want to find Wanda's body. Vision's with them. You know, it's Captain America, Iron Man, Wasp is in there. What the hell is wrong with Tony Stark? As soon as he sees Emma Frost, he's like, hey, look at the tits on her. And then Wasp is like, apologizing. She's like, don't mind Tony. He's feral.
Yeah.
What fucking character is this?
Exactly.
Tony Stark's never done diplomacy in his life. He's like, look at the fun bags.
Yeah. Like I'm sitting there. I was waiting for him to actually turn into a dog and have his eyes start bulging out like a fuck. Well, no, like a fucking like a cartoon with like, hello nurse. Like what
with his
the
like heart
shit?
pumping out of his chest.
Yeah.
Or something.
Like, I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, at least Pepe Le Pew was a little more suave about it.
A little more subtle.
Yeah, exactly. This is what the fuck am I? None of and then oh my God, look at how folksy Captain America is. Oh my God, he's from a different time. Jesus fucking Christ. Lord.
Oh yeah, the ma'am lines. So stupid.
Yeah, and then I mean, first the Avengers are coming there to pick up a body. They were just there for the Hellfire Gala. And so
you've never been here before.
Yeah. They were literally
our customs.
Exactly. And then they're like, oh yeah, well, before you do the thing that you came here to do, that's actually kind of important.
Let's do a
and it's a somber moment. Let me give you the 50-cent tour of our house. What this isn't a housewarming party, idiots. You know, and then
let's get on with some of the stuff here, Doc. We're running out of time. So we have Hope. After Charles walks away, she wakes Magneto up from his stasis and tells him to keep Wanda's body away from the Avengers.
Yeah.
So the 5 killed Wanda?
I haven't the slightest goddamn clue what the hell is going on. And I don't even think the writers do at this point, because they're definitely not explaining it in any reasonable way, other than the fact that we are absolutely 100% certain Magneto did not do this. That's the only thing we know at this point. Apparently all of the X-Men's goal, they invited the Avengers there just so that they could not like kill time to not actually take them to see Wanda's body. And they're like sitting there like, oh, we got
Vision's not going to just insist. I just want to see the body.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the beach.
Vision doesn't give a shit about
cafeteria. And I don't want to see where you guys live. I don't want to see the dormitories. I would just like to go see her body.
Yeah, he is not going to be easily distracted like this. He wouldn't have gone along with it. He's not there for sightseeing.
It was like a weird, just so much bad dialogue. I'm sorry to cut you off, Doc. No. But like North Star's like, hugs can be productive. You're like,
yeah, it
talks like that.
Yeah, I mean, like Quicksilver just randomly showing up, because I don't recall him getting off that fucking Quinjet. No. So where the shit did he come from? And the weird North Star and everybody like Captain America validating North Star's husband for no particular reason.
My favorite part is X-23 trying to hold Tony back. When that's not going to work. Cap's like, they need to protect us because we're on their hopes. It's like, you're the Avengers. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And then Scott and Steve, or Scott telling Tony and Steve, hey, give us 10 minutes. We'll take care of this ourselves. I mean, look, there was an obvious, like, you might as well have hit me in the face with it to say this isn't really Magneto when he showed up in his classic red costume to start fighting, like the classic burgundy and purple, to fight the Avengers out of nowhere. None of this made any damn sense. It was just nonsense.
And then Wanda returns at the end, which is even more nonsense.
Yeah, okay, fine. Oh, well, I guess, maybe they decided to change the fucking story because I spoiled it last month.
Yeah, it's
it's
a shit show. It was really bad.
Yeah.
Don't believe the shills. This was absolutely garbage. So that's this week at X-Men. We covered all the big news. We covered the trial of Magneto. We've gone long. We're right at 30 minutes. Doc, thank you so much for joining me today. And we'll be talking about X-Men next week.
All right. Thank you, sir. Have a great one.